It's like a beautiful name, Isis.
Ellen's rough. That's
Ellen is like
one.
an old.
But it's a rough one now.
It's a rough one now because she was running Abu Ghraib in the back of her show. That's a rough one. She's out there dancing with Kristen Bell, and in the back, there's people that are getting up on the rack like this.
It's so weird when you see, like, a lot of people saying that someone who seems so nice is not nice at all.
She doesn't seem nice, but that's people have a very poor judge of character. She doesn't seem nice. It seems forced.
Ellen DeGeneres, the woman who managed to convince half the world she was the human equivalent of a rainbow farting unicorn. All positivity, all kindness, all lies. Turns out when the cameras stop rolling and the canned laughter fades out, Ellen's be kind mantra has the same energy as a tax auditor in a thunderstorm. Cold, brutal, and you didn't see it coming.
She was said to be a nasty bitch, and that's Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah.
So her show got canceled after she had this testy exchange with Dakota Johnson, where something happened where Dakota said, oh, I had this birthday party, and Ellen said, well, why didn't you invite me? You didn't invite me. And she said, like, no, I did invite you, Ellen. That's not what happened. And Ellen had blown her off. And then tried to play the victim on the set with her. Anyway, it led to article after article of people being like, Ellen's a bitch. Ellen is a nasty person. And all these staffers started to come out, not for nothing, but I know a guy, I know him very well, whose sister worked for her, who said, you were not allowed to make eye contact with Ellen in the halls of that show. If you saw her, this is not a nice person.
This woman somehow turned daytime television into a glittery dictatorship, a pastel-colored prison where crew members flinched at the sound of sneakers squeaking because it might mean Her Highness was coming down the hallway. God forbid you made eye contact, blinked twice, and you were yeeted out of the studio faster than one of her gift card giveaways.
The Ellen situation.
Yeah.
You know, people found out that Ellen was mean, and all these people came out and said, Ellen's actually a bitch. And everybody, whoa.
Yeah.
Can't believe it. And she lost everything. She fell apart, disappeared, because people found out that this character that she was portraying in a half an hour on a television show is not really who she was. My buddy Greg, who was one of her writers, was like, she's a piece of shit. And he was like, she's a monster.
And don't get it twisted. This wasn't some misunderstood diva moment. Oh no. This was a full-blown industrial-grade operation of psychological warfare with a side of stale jokes and a questionable wig collection. If HR had a theme song at the Ellen show, it would have been a horror movie score. Everyone smiling on camera like they were auditioning for Get Out, talk show edition.
This person
with $100 million in her pocket.
$450 million according to Forbes. That's a low estimate.
Yeah.
Because so now she's out there saying, I was run out of Hollywood. She's actually reportedly complaining about how hard it is for women in America with the double standards.
Look at Oprah, how hard it is for her.
Oh, she's got, like 10 houses, Ellen DeGeneres?
Michelle Obama, look how hard it is for women in America. They're hurting.
They're going to let her back in, Rob, because she's a lesbian, she's a leftist, and she didn't hit one of their sacred cows. Nastiness, that's their bread and butter.
Now here comes Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly, armed with their flamethrowers of blunt truth and media savagery, tearing down the very IKEA-built empire Ellen had constructed. And let's be honest, it was about time. This kindness queen was out here running a workplace that made Amazon warehouses look like spa retreats. Employees were dropping faster than Ellen's credibility every time she passive-aggressively made a joke about someone's haircut. And the PR spin? Oh, chef's kiss. Ellen didn't know, sure, and gravity is just a suggestion. She knew, she orchestrated, she smiled into the camera and handed out gift baskets like Oprah's less generous, more paranoid cousin, while the backstage burned like a live-action remake of Lord of the Flies.
It's like Colonel Sanders. Not Colonel Sanders, she's just like Sergeant Pepper.
This guy looks like a member of her staff.
What kind of outfit is she wearing?
I don't know. She wears those weird, like, militant, lesbian
that should tell you
uniform.
Something.
Yeah.
Like, that's an odd look with all those buttons. Like, why do you have so many wrist buttons?
It was given to her in Langley.
The only reason why you have that many wrist buttons if you're looking at clothesline somebody.
Yeah, look at her. Look at her. Everyone says she looks so friendly. She looks friendly.
She does look very military.
Yeah, she's a militant woman.
with a very expensive watch.
She
too.
dealt with a lot of discrimination when she came out. It was very sad, but then she joined the CIA.
Her house got broken into.
But let's not pretend this is new. Ellen has been playing this double-faced game since dial-up internet. She made a career out of pretending she was everyone's quirky lesbian best friend who just happened to trip into a multi-million-dollar empire. But behind the scenes, it was less quirky sitcom energy and more North Korean talk show with better lighting. She practically weaponized niceness. Ellen turned faux kindness into a currency, and her fans bought it with every clap and cheer from that cult-like audience. The same audience who would squeal when she scared guests with jump scares, but never stopped to ask why Ellen was smiling like a sociopath when people screamed in terror. That wasn't funny. It was giving Joker audition tape. And don't even get started on how she treated her own crew. Imagine clocking into work and having to mentally prepare yourself to avoid eye contact with someone whose entire brand is dancing awkwardly to Sia. It's like working for a Walmart greeter who thinks they're a royal deity. You came into work sound, lights, and production, but instead you ended up tiptoeing through a passive-aggressive landmine.
I think also
I'm
to
just saying,
admit
like,
your
of
mistakes.
all people on earth to be feeling sorry for herself, Ellen DeGeneres should not be on the list.
She should at least, but make a real apology and do it.
There's no apology. It's just woe is me. I was run out of Hollywood as she speaks from this grandiose stage on Netflix. Hello, you haven't been canceled if you are doing a Netflix special. She got $20 million for the one before this. I'm sure she's fine.
I'm sure she's fine.
Megyn Kelly didn't need to dig hard to find the dirt. It was sitting on the surface, sipping vegan lattes and writing passive-aggressive post-its. The toxic workplace label didn't just fall from the sky. It parachuted in with receipts, witness statements, and more former employees than a bankrupt startup. At this point, Ellen's entire career could be subtitled America's Sweetheart, but only from the front row. And then, like every great Hollywood illusionist, Ellen tried to perform the classic vanishing act, issuing that half-baked, insincerely heartfelt apology during her show's final season. You could practically hear the cue cards being shuffled behind the camera. The only thing more forced than that apology was her attempt to moonwalk back into our hearts. Sorry, Ellen, you're no Michael Jackson. You're just the adult version of that one kid in school who said, "I'm not a bully. I'm just real." Now, Joe Rogan, king of UFC commentary and DMT-fueled podcast tangents, wasn't having any of it. He clocked the nonsense faster than he clocks a BS protein powder. He called out the hypocrisy like it was written in Comic Sans across Ellen's forehead. And honestly, someone had to. Because while the rest of Hollywood was busy pretending to be shocked by Ellen's mean streak, Rogan pointed out the obvious. Kindness doesn't require a camera.
Have they made progress with the strike?
They're picketing right now, so I think it's the early stages. I would think it might take a little bit with this one.
When someone crosses the writer strike, that's some dirty shit. Do they cross the picket line?
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody doing that yet.
I think Ellen did. I had a buddy of mine who was writing on Ellen. Everybody kind of knows now what she's really all about. And that's another one of those. Like,
press.
I'm so nice and I'm so sweet. Being behind the scenes.
Megyn Kelly, who has torched more public figures than a group chat during a celebrity cheating scandal, came in like a Category 5 truth hurricane and absolutely body slammed Ellen's carefully photoshopped public image. This wasn't just a gentle critique. No, Megyn pulled out a verbal bulldozer, revved the engine, and flattened the pastel castle Ellen built out of fake smiles, awkward dancing, and industrial strength denial. If Ellen's PR team had a panic button, it probably melted on contact, and honestly, it wasn't even that hard. Megyn didn't have to do a deep investigation, wear a wire, or go full James Bond. All she had to do was open her eyes and point at the absurdity everyone else was too scared, too polite, or too hypnotized by free gift bags to call out. Ellen's so-called kingdom of kindness had the same level of authenticity as a reality show romance. Overly staged, vaguely manipulative, and held together with the tears of unpaid interns. Seriously, that whole brand Ellen sold, the sugar-sprinkled cardigan-wrapped persona of America's lovable aunt who teaches you to cha-cha and gives away kitchen appliances, was held together by scotch tape, delusion, and the silent weeping of production assistants. Her empire wasn't built on love. It was built on a foundation of Botox and thinly veiled tyranny.
And here's a clip.
Decided to take up gardening. I got chickens. Let me see what else I can tell you about that. What's been going on? Oh yeah, I got kicked out of show business. The Be Kind Girl wasn't kind. That was the headline. Here's the problem. I'm a comedian who got a talk show, and I ended the show every day by saying, be kind to one another. Had I ended my show by saying, go fuck yourselves, People would have been pleasantly surprised to find out I'm kind.
Well, yeah, that's disingenuous. That's and this is
Yeah, disingenuous.
DeGeneres. That's DeGeneres.
Let's get brutally honest here. Ellen wasn't just cranky when Mercury was in retrograde. She was the reigning empress of petty tyranny, crowned in glitter and armed with a passive-aggressive smile that could slice through steel. If you sneezed and it echoed too loudly, security probably escorted you to the parking lot while Ellen whispered, "Bless you," with all the warmth of a crypt keeper. Her version of kindness was so conditional, it had a terms of service longer than a TikTok influencer's skincare routine. And her show, her show was an Olympic-level exercise in controlled chaos. Watching it was like getting hit in the face with a glitter cannon while someone screamed, "Laugh, peasant," in your ear. The set was a hamster wheel of fake laughter, anxiety-inducing surprise pranks, and celebrity groveling so intense it gave off Stockholm Syndrome vibes. Half the guests looked like they were smiling through a hostage negotiation. The other half, drenched in sweat, praying they didn't accidentally say something that offended Ellen's seventh sense.
But Stephen Paddock,
Who's that?
he was the guy that shot up the Vegas concert. That was a very tragic thing. Listen to this. The only guy that saw Stephen Paddock alive, his name is Jesus Campos. He was a guard at Mandalay Bay. He got interviewed nowhere else. You know where he got interviewed in the beginning?
Ellen. Really?
Weird. And then they went on, if you could find that clip, they went on with a weird diagram of how it happened, and Ellen's showing the people how it happened. Not like an emotional, how are you feeling, how are you holding up? It was a weird diagram of and then he went to the left and to the right. It was very strange to look. What the hell's going on? This is a daytime show.
Which is the Paddock guy? There's two guys there?
The chubbier guy is the Jesus guy. And now Ellen is doing a thing of how the shooting happened.
Look how she's got an antenna from someone's Buick that she's popped off and she's using it as a pointer.
But why the hell is this happening on a daytime show where this is weird?
Where'd she get that pointer?
I don't know. She stole it off. She stole it off an intern's car.
The games? Oh my god, the games! 5-second rule sounded fun until you realized it was basically name 3 things before Ellen cuts you off, judges your entire personality, and then forces you to crawl on the floor like a disoriented toddler. It wasn't entertainment, it was psychological warfare dressed in bubblegum colors. Her games had all the fun of a group job interview, but with more humiliation and less chance of employment. Meanwhile, her production team was operating like the FBI with a clipboard fetish. Every guest probably signed a 27-page NDA, got patted down for sass, and had their smiles rated for authenticity. There was likely a red button in the control room labeled "Deploy Ellen's awkward laughter" in case someone accidentally told a real story. You could almost hear the earpiece. Too much honesty. Cue the dancing. And the exit. You'd think she was leaving to go on a diplomatic mission to Jupiter. The way she announced it. The farewell tour had the energy of someone retiring after curing disease, not someone fleeing the scene of a PR arson. Ellen tried to float out on a cloud of sentimental nonsense, like we all forgot she basically ran a pastel-colored gulag with choreographed applause.
All right, what does the panel think of Ellen leaving the country? This I find so fascinating because first Ellen is canceled by the left. I mean, she said I was kicked out of show business. That wasn't from the right. That was because she had a toxic workplace and all the things that the people are. So then Trump so she's canceled by the left in her country, but then she's leaving the country because the right got elected.
She said she wanted to start a new chapter. Yeah, the one where she hopefully figures out what empathy is without needing a teleprompter. The truth, Ellen didn't walk away from daytime TV. She sprinted full Usain Bolt mode because the Karma delivery truck was reversing down her driveway, beeping and ready to unload. And yet, because this is Hollywood, where crocodile tears are bottled and sold as perfume, some people still clapped. Some celebrities even waddled onto social media like penguins in a blizzard yelling, "We stand with Ellen," like this was some noble crusade, not a PR nightmare in cute sneakers. Stars defended her like she'd just emerged from a spiritual pilgrimage instead of years of backstage bullying and on-camera gaslighting. "We love Ellen," they proclaimed. And I love getting root canals without anesthesia. Let's call it what it is. Hollywood protecting its own with the loyalty of a cult and the discretion of a group text leak. Ellen wasn't being canceled. She was finally getting that return to sender note from the universe marked, "Your kindness has expired."
We're here to see more Greg Simmons and revealing what his time working on Ellen's show was like. they asked me, it was St. Patrick's Day, and Ellen asked me to dress as a leprechaun and come out on stage. And this is where, yeah, if you're wondering the low point of my career.
When you say she asked me, you're like, this is not a request.
It wasn't a request. I had to do it.
Yeah, you're doing this.
When you make an employee get in a leprechaun outfit and he's Irish,
Yeah,
that's just cruel. That's racism.
yeah.
I think that, why wouldn't that be? Think about other races. Would you have taken a Chinese employee on the Chinese New Year and put him in one of those big pagoda hats and made him dance to gong music?
I mean,
The real cosmic joke. Ellen's entire shtick was being the relatable one. The cool, goofy, dorky older cousin who trips over ottomans and makes middle-aged moms everywhere feel seen. She was the queen of, I'm just like you, only I own 3 mansions and have my own perfume line called Kindness by Force. Her audience ate it up like it was gluten-free gospel, but behind the scenes, that wasn't a green room. It was the Hunger Games, sponsored by Emotional Fragility and almond milk lattes. All that was missing backstage was a flaming dress, a sponsorship deal with Panem, and a guy yelling, "Let the games begin." If you survived an appearance on Ellen without being side-eyed into oblivion, you deserved a trophy, a bonus, and a group therapy session. But instead of addressing the chaos, Ellen tried to do what she always did. Smile, shuffle, and distract, like a magician pulling confetti out of a flaming hat while the audience slowly realizes the building's on fire. And that's the legacy. Not kindness, not laughter, just the uneasy realization that the woman who told millions to be kind was running the most tightly wound pressure cooker this side of Gordon Ramsay's kitchen. So while Megyn Kelly pointed and laughed, and rightfully so, the rest of us finally exhaled and said, oh, so it wasn't just us. Ellen wasn't misunderstood. She was just really good at playing nice on TV, but when the cameras stopped rolling, the glitter peeled off fast, and underneath was just another Hollywood boss with a smile sharp enough to cut careers in half. Now she's trying to reinvent herself. Again. Maybe she'll write a memoir titled Oops, My Kindness Was Conditional, or How to Ruin a Brand in 3 Passive-Aggressive Emails. Honestly, the spin is predictable. I've grown, I've learned, the usual PR exfoliation routine, but no amount of self-reflection candles or yoga retreats can scrub the stain of years spent being the Willy Wonka of workplace misery. Meanwhile, Joe and Megyn just sat there with the metaphorical popcorn, letting the hypocrisy roast itself. And honestly, it's refreshing, watching someone finally call out the delusion of nice TV hosts who operate like emotional velociraptors. Yes, please. The best part, Ellen's whole empire was built on surprise. Surprise guests, surprise giveaways, surprise whoops, I scared you and laughed about it on national TV. But the real surprise was realizing she was the final boss of toxic leadership, dressed in pastel cardigans and crocodile tears. Even after the curtain fell, the damage remained. Former employees didn't magically forget how they were treated. Hollywood didn't unsee the wizard behind the curtain pulling levers of manipulation. And the viewers, they finally got the memo. Maybe the loudest kindness warriors are just camouflaging their mean streaks and sequins. So here we are. The empire is over. The show is done. The brand, shaky at best. And Ellen, probably doing yoga in a $10,000 robe, trying to manifest her next rebrand. Maybe as a motivational speaker. Lord help us. At the end of the day, the biggest takeaway isn't that Ellen got exposed. It's that people let her get away with it.